22nd, a Sunday in ordinary time, August 31st, 2025. Many years ago, during Edward VIII's coronation, dignitaries from all over the world filled the city of London. Alfred Deakin from New Zealand was one of them. Reporters asked him what made the most lasting impression when he returned home to New Zealand. He thought for a moment before he replied. One night, he said, returning from a gala night, he passed by an alley where he saw a boy of 12 sitting with his arm around a girl of 3. It was a cold night, and he watched the boy remove his jacket and wrap it around the little girl's shoulders. The boy then removed his hat and put it on her feet. Deakin said he traveled 14,000 miles to witness a coronation, but the most exalted event he saw occurred in the alley of a London street. It's about self-giving and service to one another. Today's readings reflect humility, God's kingdom, and how we can be humble before God and others. The greater you are, the more you must humble yourself so you will find favor with God. Sirach 3:17. Sirach tells us that there are noble and renowned people, but it is to the humble that He revealed His mysteries. God is glorified by the humble. The affliction of the proud has no healing for the wicked, because the plant has taken root in his soul. So the scriptures have instances where those who exalt themselves will be humbled and the humble exalted. Reflecting on humility, we are told that humility comes from the Latin root word humus, meaning soil. It's about lowering ourselves. That means we are to bring ourselves to the earth, even when we have all the world's riches, be it knowledge, powers, prestigious positions, and achievement awards. We are to imitate Christ, as St. Paul once said, that though he was in the form of God, he did not count equality with God. He became obedient and humbled himself, even death on a cross. In the Gospel reading, Jesus is a guest in the house of one of the leading Pharisees, where those in attendance watch him closely. Jesus was quite observant at the banquet. He speaks to our human vices and tackles self-exaltation, ego, and pride. He exalts the virtue of humility as he makes his audience conscious of self-inflation and its implications. In Jesus' parable, God's invitation to the feast demonstrates his love for all. It speaks of the virtue of humility and the virtue of generosity. On the other hand, if one is to follow the words of Jesus strictly, it sounds counter-cultural not to invite friends and relatives when you are celebrating an important event. Instead, he advocates asking people you know who cannot reciprocate your kind gestures. That would be hard because the normal tendency would be to reach out to your family, relatives, friends, and well-wishers. The message of Jesus is to be inclusive and not exclusive in one's selection. Luke's Gospel anticipates what a heavenly banquet would look like. one that would welcome the rich and poor, the privileged and underprivileged in a like manner. It has a Eucharistic theme where Christ continues to give himself as a gift for all. But individual responses matter a lot. One's behavior determines one's level of acceptance of the invitation. Humility plays an essential role, and humility is a virtue, and there is true humility and false humility. True humility highlights and celebrates others, selfless, while false humility focuses on oneself. It is very self-centered. Central to many is the fact that most people are easily turned off by arrogance and self-seeking egocentrism, which has nothing to do with self-improvement, growth, and development. As was spoken to the old Israelites, we are being addressed to conduct your affairs with humility, and you will be loved more than a gift giver. In like manner, humble yourself, and you will find favor with God. In contrast, the notion of humility in our readings is not about being a nice person everyone likes, nor is it about timidity and self-debasement. Instead, it is about imitating Christ, whose life is about self-giving. As St. Paul said, though he was equal with God, he humbled himself and became obedient even to death on the cross. Likewise, Christ's invitation to learn from him, for I am meek and humble of heart. Christ humbled himself and entered our world. The incarnate Son came down from above and communed with everyone. He allowed himself to be lowered to the belly of the earth and to be raised. He calls us today to spiritually lower ourselves before God and in dealings with others. For when we lower ourselves with the lowly, it will be easy to recognize their feelings and affliction. But when pride stands tall, it blocks and shadows one's perception. And the Magnificat, Mary, the mother of Jesus, praises God for exalting the lowly and humbling the proud heart. The letter of James 4:6 tells us that God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. Likewise, St. Augustine said, pride changed angels into devils. Humility makes men into angels. Understandably, meals brings people together as Christ did during the breaking of the bread at the Holy Eucharist. Sharing meal and other people is another form of teaching that points to the eternal banquet. For the parable of Jesus and the banquet feast is about the Eucharistic feast, where he gives to all for nothing. What he did for us, we cannot repay. He calls us not to seek to be noticed and exalted, but to lower ourselves spiritually. The Lord who calls each of us in his time will surely see to it. Have a beautiful Sunday.